So, I had an early access copy of Subnautica 2. I've spent about 30 hours playing the game now, and I saw a review video that kind of annoyed me. You see, basically, it spoiled everything in the game. It showed all the biomes, all the creatures, basically showed some stuff that I just think should have been a reveal for the players in their actual gameplay. I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what you need to know before buying Subnautica 2 that will not go in depth on the story or any of the later stages of the early access, and not have any of the mystery or intrigue of the game ruined for you by a review. So all the footage and specifics in this video will be from things you'll do in the first 1 to 2 hours of the game, so all the more intriguing stuff will be left for you to discover. Alright, first things first. This game is not complete. That's why it says early access. Yeah, I'm something of a detective. The game took me about 14 hours to go from spawning in all the way to the pop-up you get when you finish the existing story, though I did get a further 5 or 6 hours base building and reading all the PDA entries because I'm a nerd. Now, the content that is in the game is actually quite polished. There were very few bugs, my FPS was stable at about 60 FPS almost all of the time, only really dipping when I was using the tadpole dock. Additionally, the tadpole dock was the source of pretty much the only really pressing bug I actually encountered. This space piece is cursed, man, and I only had one crash, and that was 27 hours in. I have no idea what caused it. So, here are the specs for Subnautica 2 according to Unknown Worlds. I was playing on medium, and I had a stable 60 FPS while recording using a PC slightly worse than the recommended. I have more RAM in the same GPU, but the recommended processor is about 20 to 30% better than mine, and I still had minimal performance issues while half my system was being choked out by recording video at obnoxiously high bit rates. 3 hours of footage should not be 50 gigabytes. I can't unfortunately speak for the Xbox's performance, by the way, because I haven't had an Xbox since the Xbox One and I learned from my mistakes, but my point is it runs pretty well with minimal bugs and crashes, at least on PC. And if it does have a big bug or crash, the game actually has an autosave feature, so you shouldn't lose an hour of progress. As for the quality of what is actually in the game, I can say it's pretty much where you would expect it to be at the end of the game's development, to be honest. If the zones, creatures, animations, textures, sound effects, music, and all that kind of thing ended up being part of the final product, I don't think anybody would mind. It wouldn't feel like anything is a placeholder, except for a few data entries in the PDA which are still yet to be filled out, but that's a minor thing for an early access game, I'd say. So what is in the game is done, the game itself just isn't done, which is an interesting take on the early access feature of Steam, which is usually created to peddle dogshit survival games that take 12 years to develop. It's not a Stray if I'm aiming for the head, by the way. Anyway, that's all well and good, but what about the gameplay and exploration? Is there anything you need to be worried about? Let's dive in. Here's jokes. Okay, so for gameplay, have you played Subnautica? If yes, it's that. If no, well, you're about to have a very terrifying and enjoyable time. Now, more specifically, the game still revolves around managing oxygen, food, water, and health, collecting resources like titanium, lead, copper, silver, lube, rubber. And it involves looking for camps, bases, wrecks, stuff like that you have to hunt down to get context as to what the fuck is going on, but primarily through audio logs, and to hunt down fragments of useful stuff to upgrade your base, your gear, and now yourself as well with the new genetic system. There's 6 potential adaptations in Subnautica 2, but you can only find 4 of them as far as I've found, and honestly none of them are really all that notable, with them just kind of unlocking areas for you basically. However, the biomod system is a lot more interesting. You can get a biolab and install yourself with a bunch of active and passive abilities. In order to not spoil too much, I'll just tell you the options that you can start the game with basically. You've got Dash and Pathfinder as an option for your 1 active ability slot. Dash is a dash. If you need me to explain that, you are probably a Halo player. And Pathfinder leaves a stinky cloud of pheromones behind you which you can use to follow back through caves and stuff so you don't get lost. If you don't need me to explain that to you, you need to take a shower. And for the 2 passive choices, you get Oxygen Control, which allows you to slow your oxygen use when you're standing? Floating, still. And Sea Skimmer, which lets you move faster when you're close to surfaces, like in caves or at the bottom of the sea floor, so you can roleplay being a little sea snake. There are a bunch of other abilities to unlock though, and I'm not telling you what or how. Fuck you. I don't know how you're meant to open up the other unlock slots though, I think that's just not in the game yet. There's also some unmarked bio upgrades which are found in various locations, which will give you inventory capacity upgrades and toolbar upgrades. I am no genius, but I imagine in the final game, these randomly found upgrades upgrades will also unlock biomod slots. Now, there's a new tool in Subnautica 2, the Sonic Resonator. You use it to break open some sealed rooms, engage with a spoilery mechanic I won't talk about, and break large nodes of resources to build your unnecessarily large base with. It's pretty cool, and it's effectively a replacement for the propulsion and repulsion rifles. The stasis rifle is not returning because too many of you were far too open about how many Reapers you killed with it. Another aspect of gameplay is the creature design. This has been stepped up in Subnautica 2. There's a lot less hostile creatures in terms of volume, like you won't see hundreds of them at the same time now, but they've been made more three-dimensional. They have more complex behaviors and are often more aggressive. They have incredible sound design and will thoroughly shit your pants. However, as in every Subnautica game, everything that isn't a Leviathan is effectively a peeper, because even the most badass creatures that aren't Leviathans just don't do any real damage. Early on, you'll encounter something called a marrow breach, and the game will set it up as this absolute apex predator of the starting area. Everyone in the audio logs will be setting it up as this absolute terror of the seas, this immovable object that will tear you to shreds, and then you'll engage with it and it'll do 3% of your health bar per bite or something like that. This is a problem in all Subnautica games in my opinion. If it's not a Leviathan, it's just not gonna kill you. At worst, it'll be a massive inconvenience like the lava larvae, is that how you say that? In the first game. If an Unknown Worlds employee happens to be perusing this video for some reason, it would be really nice if we could modify things like incoming damage on a slider, because I really wish Subnautica games actually had some deadly predators other than the Leviathans that are so big and loud you can easily avoid them. Let me just get burst like a tube of Gogurt by the marrow breach, Unknown Worlds. It's okay. I can take it. I can play actual difficult survival games that challenge me and aren't just exploration simulation games. I never died in Subnautica 2 in my entire 27 hours except for when I was doing a little final thing to do with a thing which involves basically intentionally dying. It's a whole thing I can't get into because spoilers, but yeah, it's just not a very challenging game so far whatsoever. The creatures seemed like much bigger threats to my vehicle than me, and I have this exact same issue with Subnautica 1 where everything that isn't the size of an aircraft carrier takes like 2 minutes of you not doing anything to kill you. Speaking of exploration, there's something like 11-ish biomes in the game, but more usefully I would say there's about 4 unique zones that feel significantly different from each other, and each one is a major step in the story, and you've only been seeing gameplay from that first zone in this video. And one final aspect of the gameplay you might be worried about is, as a possible returning player, is the game, quote, friend slop? Have they made it like Fallout 76, where it's barely a game if you don't have friends to make it interesting? No, it's just like all the other Subnautica games, you just have the ability to bring in friends now. Otherwise, the game is pretty much exactly what you would expect from a Subnautica game. Exploration, dodging Leviathans, base building, and following the story. Some people didn't like how handholdy Below Zero was story-wise, and I'd say Subnautica 2 takes a very similar approach to Subnautica 1 with its story. There is a system in place, like the radio, to give you various periodic hints of where to go to find the next part of the story, but you're not really forced to engage with that story if you don't want to. You can choose to find the audio logs yourself naturally, or ignore them entirely. I don't 100% know if there's anything strictly locked behind finding these audio logs in the early access. I know there's one that contains a code that will let you enter a room, but in that room, I think the only thing there is just more story context to give you a direction to go. So I don't think you need to use it either. And there may be an audio log later on as well that's required to activate something, but I might be misremembering that, and the audio log is right next to the thing anyway, so you won't be absolutely flummoxed if you ignore like 99% of the audio logs and just explore naturally. If that is how you want to play a Subnautica game anyway, the story is quite interesting, but of course it's unfinished, so I won't comment too heavily on it either way. So, the final question is, should you buy this game right now? Well, here's the facts. The game is $25 during early access, and it will increase in price when it's done. Right now you get about 12 to 20 hours of gameplay and story, depending on how thorough of an explorer you are, though of course you can always just play it again if you like the gameplay loop enough. I know I played it like twice basically. The existing content is very polished and runs well, so what it comes down to for you is going to be, is that 12 to 20 hours worth your $25 now? Or would you rather pay more later for more content so that your first playthrough is a full continuous finished product that goes on for like 40 hours? I can't decide that for you, but I hope I gave you enough info to just decide that today without spoiling too much of the actual mysteries of the game. If you have decided to buy the game, check out this video where I go over 10 things I wish I knew when starting out in Subnautica 2. Very mild spoiler alert, nothing story-wise and nothing beyond the first areas of the game. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.